let's talk quickly about the Middle East. Catch you up. There's a lot of talk about a potential ceasefire in Gaza. It looks like Hamas and Israel are closer than they have been in a very long time to some kind of deal. A deal that would release probably about 30 hostages of the 100 or so hostages and alive and dead that Hamas holds. Hamas is claiming they can only identify and find 30. They don't know where the others are, which could very well be a lie because they want to hold hostages for future negotiations. They have demanded the release of Palestinian prisoners. They have given in to a few of Israel's demands, like Israel staying in Gaza and holding on to the Philadelphia. It would be a 60-day ceasefire. Not sure what happens then. And of course, nothing in there suggesting what the long-term solution is and what this looks long-term. There definitely seems to be a sense in Hamas that, there was hope in Hamas that Iran would come to save them, that Hezbollah continuing to harass Israel would ultimately release the pressure on them, that the Syria and the Shiite Iranian-affiliated militias might attack in the north and save them. The Houthis will keep bombing Israel and save them. And basically that has completely collapsed. So, I know a lot of people are going to give Donald Trump credit for Hamas moderating its position. But the reality is they now face a world in which Hezbollah is gone. It basically is not a threat to Israel and is not bombing Israel and is not distracting Israel from what needs to be done in Gaza. Israel's still in southern Lebanon, hasn't left yet. But basically, it's mop-up operations and clean-up operations. There's not going to be any sustained effort. Gaza is not going to be saved by Hezbollah. The Iranians are mute. They've silenced themselves. Basically, they've lost their main ally, or one of their main allies in the Middle East, Hezbollah, and then they lost Syria, a major, a major hub for their activities, a major place in which they could transport equipment, weapons to Hezbollah in Lebanon. The loss of Syria is a massive blow to Hezbollah, to Iran. Iran has also been shown to be a paper tiger. Israel basically eviscerated its air defense systems and showed that it could basically bomb anything. Basically, Hamas has come to the conclusion, and this is a conclusion it's come to because of Israel's actions, that it will not survive, that it cannot sustain this, and its best path for surviving and rising up again in the future is to cut a deal. And so they're cutting a deal. And Israel, I think mistakenly is also, Israel mistakenly, or not mistakenly, feels under pressure, both internally by the Israeli population really wants a deal, really wants the hostages released, or some of the hostages released, but also Israel is under pressure from Trump. Israel wants to be on Trump's good side. Israel wants Trump as a friend. Every indications are that Trump will be, but Trump is basically demanding that violence stop in Gaza. So I think Israel's basically saying, okay, we'll cut a deal. We want to cut a deal before Trump is in office to show goodwill towards Trump. So we now have, it now looks like there will be a deal in the next few days. I think this is a mistake. I don't think you can argue that you want to completely destroy an organization that you then negotiate with. The very fact that you're negotiating with says that they're legitimate and says that, you're giving them, you're sanctioning their existence. So Gaza is worth watching. We'll continue to watch it and see what happens. Things are quiet. The leadership of Hamas is quiet. The military capabilities are basically being diminished completely. They're still there. They're still active. They're still training new people. They're still stealing aid. They're still doing all these things. But the political, but primarily the military power has basically been eviscerated. At the same time, Syria, as we know, the Assad regime has collapsed. These other forces, a variety of different elements from within Syria, are now taking control of different parts of the country. It does look like there is a certain consolidation of power around the Islamist group that came in from the north. They are the dominant force, but they are claiming that they are liberal now and they are open, and they, you know, I read somewhere that they want to establish a free market in Syria. Who knows? You know, that they are going to tolerate the minorities, and they're going to tolerate non-Islamists, and they don't want war, and they want a thriving Syria. We'll see how long this lasts. And they are slowly taking control of Syria. Israel is not taking chances. It is basically, as I've told you before, destroying everything the Syrian army had that could be used by these new political forces, military forces, to attack Israel. Israel is destroying from the air. It's also put troops on the ground and created a buffer zone around the Golan Heights. They're building trenches. They're building intelligence capabilities. They took out the Hermon mountain, where they can now observe the actions of all their enemies, both in Lebanon and in Syria. The mountain actually blocked a lot of Israel's intelligence capabilities. Now they basically control the tallest peak in the region. So the consolidation of power in Syria continues. How it all evolves and how it all plays out, we still don't know. We still don't know the very nature of the people who are taking control right now. And we don't know the intentions of their big ally, which is Turkey. So it's going to be an interesting few months, few years to see how all of that pans out. Anything else I want to say about Syria? We've talked about Russia and the defeat Russia took there, and the fact that they're retreating, and they've evacuated their forces from there. So, yeah, I mean, Syria is part of this completely new realignment in the Middle East that's going to be really interesting, and at least in the short run, is very good for Israel. In the long run, it's hard to tell. But in the short run, it weakens Iran, Israel's #1 enemy, and of course, Israel's already taking care of the rest of its enemies.